Okay, today we're going to be taking 8.4 to 8.5 review notes. There is a quiz tomorrow, so please make sure you're reviewing these for that quiz. The whole thing is going to be about proportions and how you solve proportions. The first way we're going to do is using equivalent ratios to solve the proportions. All right, so there is going to be a clear link between these two numbers that you've got to figure out what it is. Do I know the numerator and denominator in the first fraction or the second one?
The first.
The first one, okay. Do I know both of them on top or on bottom?
Bottom.
On bottom. So we are going from this number right here and figuring out how I can get to that number right there by multiplying or dividing. If it's going from smaller to bigger, do I need to multiply or do I need to divide? Multiply. 7 times what number equals 21?
3.
7 times 3. If I multiply by 3 on the bottom, I have to,
Multiply by 3 on top.
okay? So very clearly right here, you can see 7 times 3 equals 21. 3 times 3 equals what, guys? 9. So you found your answer pretty fast. A equals 9. The way that we're doing this way, go ahead and circle it with your red pen, is equivalent ratios. On your quiz tomorrow, I'm going to specifically ask you to find some of them using equivalent ratios. So I want you to go ahead and do problem B on your own using equivalent ratios to solve it. Looking at problem B, do I know the numerator and denominator in the first one or the second one? The second one. So I am working from this and trying to figure out what that way should be. Do I know both the top or both the bottom?
The top.
I know both the top. So I have to go from an 18 to a 2. If I'm getting smaller, should I be multiplying by something or dividing?
Divide.
Dividing. 18 divided by what number equals 2?
9.
Okay, so 18 divided by 9 equals 2. You're reading it backwards from this way. 18 divided by 9 equals 2. So now I've got to read the bottom side backwards. 45, I got to do the same thing, divided by 9 equals 5. Now there is a way to check it. The way to check it is to take this answer and to plug it back in up there. If I plug it in up there, what do I get?
2 over 5 equals 18.
Okay, 2 over 5 equals 18 over 45. Does 18 over 45 look exactly like 2/5? No, but I want you to plug in 18 over 45 into your calculator to see what it would be in its simplest form. When you plug it into your calculator, 18/45, what does it say? 2/5. So if you reduce this one, it will equal 2/5. So you just found that way, it does check out. So this is how you do it when you're using equivalent ratios. The next one I want you to do, write this down, use algebra to solve the proportions. So we've learned 3 different ways of how to solve proportions. This one, go ahead and circle it in red so you understand this is how to do algebra. The goal whenever we have algebra is to get what by itself?
H.
H. If you look over here on this side, there is something that's not allowing H to be alone on the left side of the equal sign. What is it?
Divide by 6.
Divide by 6. What's the opposite of divide by 6?
Multiply.
So if I multiply the left side by 6, what do I have to do?
Multiply by right side.
Always be fair. Multiply the right side by 6. What happens to H times 6 divide by 6? These cancel out and I'm left with 1H or plain old H. Now, on your quiz tomorrow and when you're doing your homework, I want to see your work. So show me that you understand what's happening here. What's 3 times 6?
18.
18. Now this is basically the same thing as over 1. Anytime you could put a number underneath it, it would be over 1. 18 over, what's 9 times 1? 9. Now, would I keep my answer H equals 18 over 9? Now, what is 18 over 9?
2.
2. So you just solved H equals 2. Once again, there's a way to check it. You're simply going to take this H, plug it back in up there. Instead of H over 6, you can put in 2 over 6. So then it would say 2 over 6 equals 3 over 9. Do those look like each other? They don't. They look different. But in the reduced state, maybe they would look like each other. If I reduce 2/6, what would I get?
2/6 equals 1/3.
1/3. Okay, if you don't know that, put it in your calculator. 3/9, what does that equal?
1/3.
1/3. Does a third equal a third?
Yes.
Yes, so it does check out. So if you look, as you're plugging it back in, and these look different from each other, put it in your calculator to see what the simplest form would be. And when I do that, it would be 1/3 over 1/3. Now, you don't need to show me your work when you're checking it. You can do it in your head. You can show me the work if you want, but you don't need to. Our answer is H equals 2. I want you guys to show me that you understand it and go ahead and do B on your own. The goal is to get M by itself. What is not allowing M to be alone?
21.
Okay, divide by 21. What's the opposite of divide by 21?
Multiply.
Multiply it by 21. You got to do it to both sides. Once again, I want to see your work shown. So what is 6 times 21?
126.
126 divide by?
14.
When you plug that into your calculator, you find out M equals what? 9. So now plug it back in. Up at the top, put in 9 over 21 into your calculator. When it is in simplest form, what does it equal?
Oh, 3 over 7.
3 over 7. Does this one say 3 over 7? No. Put 6/14 into your calculator. The only way that this will be correct is if when you reduce 6/14 it equals 3 over 7.
Yes.
And it does, which means it checks out and you did do it correct. 9 equals M is the correct answer. So that's how you use algebra. Now we taught one last way yesterday using cross products to solve the proportions. If you remember with cross products, you are multiplying across. So I'm going to start with my 5. What should I multiply the 5 by?
10.
5 times 10. And what should I multiply the 2 by?
Y.
2 times y. All right, once again, I want you to show me your work so I understand that you're understanding it. What do I write down first?
5 times 10.
5 times 10 equals 2 times y. What's 5 times 10? 50. And now instead of saying 2 times y, we know whenever there's a number directly next to a variable that it means to multiply. Y is still not by itself. How do I get it alone?
You have to divide by 2.
Divide by 2 on both sides,
And cancel out.
and you get just
50
y.
divided by 2 is 25.
25. 25 equals y. I want you to check it to see if it works. When you checked it, you plugged in 25 over 10. What does that reduce to?
5 over 2.
5 over 2. Is that what this one said?
Yes.
Then it checked out and you did it correct. I want you to try problem B on your own. Problem B, what should I multiply?
3.6 times 14.4 times x.
Excellent. All right, we're going to multiply it by each other. 3.6 times 14.4 equals 3 times x. All right, keep going for me. What's your next step?
3.6 times 14.4 equals 51.84, and 3 times x equals 3 times x.
Equals 3x. All right, now what do I do?
And then you make it into a fraction, which would be 51.84 over 3.
Okay, you want to divide by 3 on both sides so that I can get rid of that 3 right there. And what is my answer?
17.28.
Excellent. All right, 17.28 is the correct answer. Once again, to check it, put this right back up into that. 17.28 over 14.4, what do you get?
6 over 5.
6 over 5. Now, this does not say 6 over 5 on this side, so plug that part into your calculator and see if it happens to equal 6 over 5. You are correct. When that is reduced in its simplest form, it would be 6 over 5. So that is correct, and your answer is 17.28. So that's how you use cross products, all right? Another thing that you're going to need to know for your quiz tomorrow, tell whether the ratios form a proportion. We're trying to figure out if these equal each other, yes or no. The way we're going to do it is the same way that we did cross products. So we're going to be multiplying across to see if they do equal each other or not. So 3.4 is going to get multiplied by what?
6.5.
Okay, I'm going to be multiplying that one. 4.3 is going to get multiplied by what?
5.6.
5.6. All right, we're multiplying across. So show me your work. 3.4 times 6.5 equals 4.3 times 5.6. Mason, what's 3.4 times 6.5? 22.1. Sherelle, what's 4.3 times 5.6?
No, they're not equal. No.
24.08. Guys, do those numbers look the same?
No.
No, so they do not equal each other. The answer is no, they are not forming a proportion. Jakari, what should I multiply by?
4 multiplied by 32.
Okay,
And 8 multiplied by 16.
all right, 4 times 32 equals 8 times 16. What do you get? 128 equals 128, so your answer is yes. Great job. They do form a proportion because they are equal to each other. Number 5 says the scale on a map is 1 inch to 13 miles. So imagine, how many of you have seen a map of Jacksonville or of the world or something? In this case, this is probably something smaller of like a city. So 1 inch, think about it, one little tiny inch represents 13 miles of the city. Find the length on the map in inches for the distance of how long 65 miles would be. So we've got to come up with a proportion of things that we know versus what we don't know. So what is it that I know?
1 inch. 1 over 13. 1 inch over 13 miles.
1 inch is the representation for 13 miles. Equals what?
X over 65 miles.
X over 65 miles. So one thing I want to point out to you to make sure that you really do when you're making your own proportions, if it says miles down here, it must say miles down there because they are equal to each other. So if it says inches here, what do you think this is going to be my answer in what? Inches is going to be my answer. So let's go ahead and try to figure this out. Is there a clear link between 13 miles and 65 miles that I could multiply by or divide by? Probably not. Okay, that you might have something, you might not, okay? I want you guys to try to come up with, I don't care which method you use. Either use equivalent ratios, cross products, or algebra, but I want you to find this answer all on your own. Is there a clear link from how to get from 13 to 65?
Yes.
What was it?
Times 5.
Okay, times 5. If you multiplied by 5 on bottom, then you have to,
Multiply by 5 on top.
what's 1 times 5?
5 inches.
Okay, so for that way, doing it, that was equivalent ratios, 5 inches. How many of you would say you did it a different way than that? Mason, how'd you do it?
I did the cross way.
Okay, the cross way. So let's go ahead and do the cross way together to see if we can get the correct answer. What did you multiply by?
1 times 65 equals 13 times x.
Okay, so 1 inch times 65 equals 13x.
65 over 13.
Okay, you got to divide both sides by 13, and what do you get?
13 divided by x divided by 13 is x, and 65 divided by 13 is 5.
5. Notice he got the same way. Was there anybody who did it with algebra? Okay, we have one person who did it with algebra. I had to multiply both sides by what?
65.
Okay, so I multiply this by 65. I'm going to do it in blue. I know this is going to get confusing. And I'm going to do this side by 65. If you do that, this cancels out, and I'm left on that side with x equals 65 over 13. What is 65 over 13?
5.
X equals 5. Now, the main thing is, go back to the question. It says, find the length on a map in inches for the distance of 65 miles. So, if you were to tell me your answer was 5 miles, that would be wrong. Okay, the answer is 5 inches. So, it does not matter to me which way you find it. I know my board looks a little messy right now, but you can see in red, we did equivalent ratios. In the brownish color, we did it where we did cross products, and then in the blue, you can see that we did it using algebra. Once again, I do not care how you do it. I want you to do one last story problem today. And once again, you may find it however you want. Whichever way is easiest for you, you can choose which way you want to do it. It takes 15 gallons of paint to cover a 300 square foot area. How many square feet would 6 gallons of paint cover? I need to come up with a ratio. What's the first ratio of things that I know?
15 gallons over 300 square feet.
Okay, 15 gallons over 300 square feet. Now, a square foot is totally different than a regular foot, so please make sure it says square feet. Equals what, guys?
6 gallons over X.
6 gallons over X. Once again, I do not care what variable you use. X is perfect though, okay? So here, look, gallons are on top, which means gallons must be on top. Square feet are on bottom, which means my answer is going to be in what? It's going to be in square feet. So, how many of you did cross products to find this answer? All right, pretty much everyone. Then I will do cross products with you. 15 gallons is going to be multiplied by X, so I'm just going to put 15X, and I will come back to my units in a little bit. 300 needs to be multiplied by 6. What?
1,800.
1,800? Now what do I do?
You divide
by
over
15.
over 15.
Divide both by 15. When I do that, X equals what?
120. It cancels out.
120. Now, go back to the question. It says, how many square feet would 6 gallons of paint cover? So what's my answer?
120 square feet.
120 square feet. Once again, whenever you have a story problem, you must have units attached, otherwise it's not correct. Tonight, I need you guys to study. Once again, it's only 2 sections, 8.4 to 8.5, but there is a quiz tomorrow, so make sure you go over these review notes so that you understand everything you need to know for your quiz tomorrow.